Hello, hello! You are in Taxi Biotech, and today we are going to see the fascinating journey that a drug makes from the laboratory to the pharmacy. A long process of at least approximately 10 years and very expensive, billions of dollars. And you already know that it is a science and investment channel. That is why here we will find great opportunities for profitability and investment. Welcome to Taxi Biotech, a program to learn about news and developments in the world of biotechnology and learn and understand its impact on the stock market. The stock data I show here does not constitute any investment recommendation. This is pure entertainment. It all starts in the laboratory with the preclinical phase. We, the scientists, identify molecular pathways in different diseases, and we test if there can be molecules that block these diseases. In this preclinical phase, the tests are done first in cells and then in animals. It is an intermediate phase that can last between 1 and 3 years, and from approximately 5,000 molecules, only one will succeed and test herself on humans. If the results are promising, for example, cancer cells die or genetic errors are corrected in mice, then the companies ask for permission from the relevant regulatory authority. Normally, they ask first to the FDA, because the EMI here in Europe takes much longer. The companies ask to these agencies for an IND, an investigational new drug. When all the permissions are obtained from the regulatory agencies, the time comes to start phase 1 testing in humans. The objective is to know if the drug is safe and well tolerated and can last several months, up to 1 year. Healthy patients will participate here, and the success rate is usually relatively high, around 70% of the molecules tested. And this is where our movement as investors also comes in, because if this phase is successful, the shares usually increase their value around 20 to 30%. Okay, now that we know that phase 1 is safe and well tolerated, now we wonder if it would work in patients who already have the disease. It is what is known as phase 2. A greater number of patients with the disease, and the objective here is to know if it is effective and also know the side effects. It usually lasts around 1 or 2 years, and the success rate is greatly reduced. Here, 2 out of every 3 drugs die. But yes, if they manage to achieve success in effectiveness and safety, the shares can grow 200% or even 300%. This crazy growth that only biotechnology can give you. You must take into account that the competition between treatments is very important to the company reward, because only the best drug is the one that will carry out the recommended treatment and will impact a lot in the share price. And here we always analyze this at Taxi Biotech to try to get this crazy profit that no other sector can give you. The next phase is the most expensive and decisive. The last one. Phase 3. These are large-scale studies with thousands of patients to, in this case, confirm the effectiveness and safety of phase 2 in this phase 3. Here it is usually compared against placebo or against the competition drug, and the process can last between 1 to 4 years. The success rate in this case is around 30%. Entering as investors in this phase, it can make us another 300%. But be careful, if the trial is not successful, we can eat the classic minus 90%. That is very common in biotech at this stage. Here, what we usually do at Taxi Biotech is to look very well at the phase 2 data against the competition and try to guess if they are going to replicate the data in phase 3. Do not fall in this trap. If phase 3 come out positive, what is normally done is request an NDA, a new drug application. That is, you are going to request that this drug would be given to the entire population of sick patients, of course. If the FDA consider it for review, they would give us a specific date. This date is called PDUFA date. This date is going to tell us if the drug is approved or the drug is rejected. And this is another very important date for investors in biotechnology, because here we can eat another minus 90%, and here we can take ourselves to heaven again. That is why at Taxi Biotech we try to predict what these movements are going to be. Catalytic events like this are very dangerous, which is why we have to look very closely at the science of phase 3. If the drug is approved, now what comes is phase 4. Billions or millions of patients benefit from a drug, and they see their quality of life improve. And now their safety has to be monitored very closely. Here, the pharma is going to have profits, but the FDA can act ex officio if it sees any problem here. And now comes the most important thing about the channel. What do we do here as investors? Well, look, the first thing is that we give liquidity to companies. We provide money so that they continue to research and patients benefit from drug development. There is no doubt that drugs improve the quality of life of patients who are suffering from an illness, and we, by betting on these companies, inject money that they need to continue with the research. We, as minority investors, can have different strategies. There are some who come in before the results of phase 2 are published, and some who come in later, also with phase 3. Do they enter before phase 3 or do they enter after phase 3? Entering earlier can give you a very big benefit if phase 3 comes out positive. But if it comes out negative, you can fall by 90%. That's why there are other investors who prefer to enter later. It is true that the revaluation is not going to be that high, but you avoid a drop of minus 90% because the results are already known. I like to analyze phase 1 data and predict whether phase 2 is going to be positive. I also like to analyze the scientific data of phase 2 and predict whether phase 3 is going to be positive. I know that it's a risky strategy, but it's working for me at the moment. But hey, here it's not about betting blindly, but about analyzing the science they give us. Clinical trials require understanding the competition science, patient needs, and company financial strength. Biopharma remains the most volatile market sector, but well-managed volatility also generates significant opportunities.